Dr. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of India, Monsieur Eric Lombard, ministre de l'économie, des finances et de l'industrie et de la souveraineté digitale, Monsieur Jean-Noël Barrot, ministre de l'Europe et des Affaires étrangères, qui nous accueille aujourd'hui, who welcomes us today as your predecessor welcomed us here in July 23. Senior officials from India and France, members of the CEO Forum for France and India, ladies and gentlemen. As you now know, India holds a special place in my heart as I have been deeply engaged with the country for now more than 2 decades, first as Capgemini CEO for 18 years, and now as Special Envoy for the Ministry of Europe and Foreign Affairs for the Indo-French Economic Relationship, as Chairman of the France-India Business Council of MEDEF International, and co-chairman of this Indo-French CEO Forum. The Indo-French CEO Forum meeting is a high-level gathering serving key purposes: identifying investment opportunities, fostering synergies and strengthening strategic partnerships, and addressing the challenge business face in expanding their activities both in France and India. Since the remarkable plenary session of July 14, 2023, during we established 3 action-driven subgroups, we have held 2 Indo-French CEO Forum in Delhi to advance, refine, enhance, and iterate on the action plan related to construction value chain, smart cities, urban improvement, 1, green hydrogen and green ammonia, 2nd, and 3rd, smart manufacturing. We also had a particular focus on the pharmaceutical sector. These meetings have enabled us to maintain a regular contact with both French and Indian authorities to convey our ambitions and needs. For this session, and as the Indo-French CEO Forum meeting coincides with Prime Minister Modi's visit and the co-presidency of France and India at the AI Action Summit, we found essential to integrate AI into our discussion, given its transformative impact on our economies and societies. We have understood the messages from the Indian authorities, particularly those conveyed by Mr. Piyush Goyal at the CEO Forum last November 24 in Delhi. India should not be solely seen as a market for export, but as a country where we hire and produce locally, where value is created. Another crucial point was highlighted by the former Ministry of Economy and Finance, Mr. Bruno Le Maire, who noticed the significant imbalance between French investment in India and Indian investment in France, and set a bold target of multiplying by 10 the India investment in France. Today, we are honored to welcome Mr. Eric Lombard, Ministry of Economy and Finance, Mr. Jean-Noël Barrot, Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs, representing the French government, and Dr. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister from the Indian government. I'm pleased to welcome the CEOs of Indian companies and of French companies that are well established in India and hold ambitious aspirations for further collaboration and growth. Their participation underscores their commitment and dedication towards forging mutually beneficial partnership. Concerning the afternoon agenda, opening remarks will be delivered by Mr. Barrot and Lombard, then by Mr. Jaishankar, then 2 discussion sessions, 1 hour each, with a short break in between. Following this plenary session, we will have the report back session attended by His Excellency President Macron and the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi. It's a great honor to gather here in Paris for today's plenary session with a truly outstanding lineup. Thank you all for the energy you dedicate to strengthen the Franco-Indian relationship. Your presence here for an entire afternoon is the greatest testament of your commitment. I will now hand over to my esteemed co-chair, Hari Bhartia, who will address the opportunities that exist in both our countries, as well as the potential path forward, opportunities and direction with which I fully align and wholeheartedly support. Hari.
Thank you, Paul. Honorable Dr. Jaishankar, our External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jean-Noël Barrot, Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs, Republic of France, Mr. Eric Lombard, Minister of Economy, Finance and Industrial and Digital Sovereignty for the Republic of France. My friend Paul, Chandrajit, Excellencies and members of CEO Forum. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the Indian side. We are really honored to have distinguished presence of the ministers, our esteemed business leaders, and we deeply appreciate your time and engagement in this vital forum. This 14th forum takes place at a crucial moment when the economic and strategic partnership between India and France is reaching new heights. The visit of Honorable Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to France underscores the strong commitment of both our governments to deepening cooperation in multiple domains. Sir, today India is the fastest growing major economy in the world. The Indian government has taken decisive steps to enhance ease of doing business, develop world-class infrastructure, and foster a dynamic, innovative ecosystem. Over the years, our governments have built robust strategic relationship, which has translated into growing collaboration in areas such as energy transition, smart cities, infrastructure, defense, digital innovation, and manufacturing. Trade and investment between our countries have also grown steadily, but we believe there remains an immense untapped potential. In 23-24, the bilateral trade between India and France was over $15 billion, which has almost doubled in the last decade or so. This gives you a CAGR of almost 6%, but this is not enough. To enhance Indo-French business engagement, I propose 5 key areas of focus. First, being AI. The CEO Forum is taking place against the backdrop of AI Action Summit. I see a huge opportunity for collaboration here by combining India's vast AI talent and digital ecosystem with France's leadership in AI research and in ethics. Both nations can create a competitive AI alliance. While the adoption of AI is reaching at a very high level in India and France, we cannot only be the consumers of AI. We need to be the producers of AI. I suggest that there is an opportunity to establish an Indo-French AI research center between Indian institutes like IIT and Indian Institute of Science, and with French counterparts such as INRIA and CNRS. In some of our IITs, we have already established schools of AI, and I think that's where we have opportunity to partner with the French institutes. We also need to cooperate on AI acceleration to mentor, start, and give market access to new startups which relates to AI. Bilateral investment in AI startup, mainly for create foundational systems. Joint AI initiative in defense, fintech, cybersecurity, and e-commerce. Just before we assembled here, I was talking to the CEO of Capgemini, Eman Izzat. He was telling me in India he has trained almost 100,000 people on AI. Not only Capgemini, but there are other companies which have created a huge talent for AI which is available to France for partnership. Secondly, the second area of focus is the area of sustainability, green economy, and smart cities. France is a leader in green technologies and is rapidly scaling up renewable energy, green hydrogen, carbon capture, and circular economy models. India and France can work together to create a structured mechanism for co-development in investment in these areas. By combining India's urban expansion with France's smart city expertise, both countries can build AI-driven, future-ready cities that are sustainable, efficient, and secure. The third focus area is to drive next wave of manufacturing excellence. India and France can collaborate on smart manufacturing and digital innovation with sharper focus on Industry 4.0. The three main areas that we recommend is to really look at defense and aerospace ecosystem. We already have a lot of collaboration, of course, in design and now manufacturing of components, almost assembly of aircrafts in India, and this can further be expanded by even applying, partnering on AI systems for defense. Secondly, for creating a semiconductor ecosystem, already French companies do design in India. Can we look at manufacturing and fabrication facility, and with that goes the requirement of almost 250 chemicals and gases that are required in fabrication. Some of that can be looked at to be manufactured in India. Lastly, on space, we have a history of collaboration between Indian space agencies and companies in France. In the new space area, we have many startups which can partner with the companies here, and also if they could get access to the French market for some of the systems that they have developed in India. The fourth area of focus that we recommend is that India and France both have a thriving startup ecosystem. The need of the hour calls for creation of an India-France startup platform to enhance access to funding, technology, and mentorship for both Indian and French companies. Lastly, sir, the fifth area of focus we recommend is in the area of biopharmaceuticals. Both India and France are doing high-end research. I think Indian companies have moved from being a generic supplier to doing drug discovery and doing more innovative work. I think we also have a very vibrant startup ecosystem and also a contract research environment. I think there is very large opportunity for us to partner in this area. And finally, since the remarkable plenary session, as Paul mentioned, on July 2023, where 3 action-driven subgroups were established, the Indo-French CEOs Forum has maintained momentum thanks to my partnership with Paul through 2 subsequent meetings in Delhi. These gatherings have served as platforms to advance and refine strategic initiatives, ensuring that discussions translate into meaningful action. Strong focus has been placed on energy transition, smart cities, health, food, agri-tech, as well as smart manufacturing, with additional attention given to the pharmaceutical sector. We hope to continue this work in partnership with our French counterparts.
I think is very useful, and it's very interesting that, as you said, Mr. Bhartia, it happens against the backdrop of this summit that we co-chaired, that President Macron and that Prime Minister Modi introduced this morning, and that has demonstrated how our strategic vision for AI are close one to another, and how much we can achieve when we join forces. Because as we speak, we're collecting the last signatures on the declaration, the final declaration of this summit, that is going to rally more than 60 signatories, which is the largest ever pool of signatories for a declaration on AI, with this scope because for the first time, a number of topics, including governance and environmental dimensions of AI, will be included. And as both of you said, AI is clearly one of the dimensions of our relationship where we hope that Indian and French CEOs can take the work further to foster the relationship and to increase welfare for our people. As saying, last time you met was 2023, a year when we celebrated the 25th anniversary of the strategic partnership concluding in 1998, the first signed by India with a foreign country. And this partnership rests on 4 pillars, or has rested on 4 pillars, more precisely: defense, civil nuclear power, space, and the fight against terrorism. But as I was listening to you, it becomes more and more evident that this strategic partnership, thanks to your work, has developed additional pillars for our cooperation, including biopharmaceuticals, clean tech technologies, and digital technology and AI. And it's great news to see our bilateral economic links growing from year to year. As you said, bilateral trade is now surpassing 17 billion euros, reaching record levels in 2024. Major French companies who are in the room today are present in India, such as Air Liquide, EDF, Engie, Total Energy, and others, including Capgemini, that has so many of their personnel in India. And conversely, more than 150 Indian companies are based in France, with a strong concentration in automotive, aeronautics, pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, and IT sector. So what are we doing to make sure that Indian companies thrive in France? Well, is improving the business environment. And as you know, over the past 7 years, under the leadership of President Macron, we've lowered taxes, we've reformed the labor market, we've suppressed some of the hurdles to entrepreneurship, and as a result, we've become the most thriving economic ecosystem in Europe, and we've been, for 5 times in a row, the most attractive country for foreign investments. And now with Eric and our fellow ministers, we are also trying to get Europe to follow the same path. And we were glad to hear the European Commission 2 weeks ago announce its competitiveness compass, which is going to provide for simplification, for more investments, and more ambition in terms of industry and technology. And this is important in a moment where the European Commission has expressed its desire to create more close cooperation with India. The President of the Commission and the Commissioners will be visiting India very soon, and we are very happy as France to be one of the triggers of this stronger cooperation, not only between France and India, but also between India and the EU. So be welcome in Paris, and I wish you very productive and fruitful discussions, and I pass the mic to Eric Lombard.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, cher Jean-Noël. Mr. Minister of External Affairs, Dr. S. Jaishankar, very happy to welcome you in Paris. Dear co-chairs of the CEO Forum, dear Paul, dear Henri Bartia, Mr. Chairman, I've heard what you said in your proposal and took good note of them. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy with my colleague and with yourself to open this 12th edition of the France-India CEO Forum. Let me start, if you allow me, by a personal note. I've been involved in business development with India personally in the last 40 years, 40. My first trip was in 1983, where I was sent to open the office of Banque Paribas, which was before its merger with BNP. And I traveled extensively in Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Delhi, Bangalore at the time. It was a different India. I came back very often, often twice or 3 times a year. At a point in time, during a few years, I was also a director of the insurance subsidiary of the State Bank of India, a formidable institution for which I have a lot of respect, and that allowed me to have a close interaction with the Indian government and the Indian business community. So for me, it's from a personal standpoint, which is very moving to be here today and to see the excellent development of the political and business relationship between our two countries. As Jean-Noël Barrot mentioned, let me just say a quick word on the situation of France. Jean-Noël reminded how we've been in the last 7 years on a pro-business agenda, and attractiveness of our country is, of course, key to what this government wants to do. As you've heard, probably it took us a bit more time than usually to have our budget adopted. It's now done, so we have visibility for the months and years to come to continue on that agenda and to continue to be in favor, of course, of business development, and by the same token, putting in better order our public finance. That's something we all have to do. And in that framework, simplification of the business environment is very high on our agenda, and also of the European agenda. I'm sitting on the Council of European Finance and Economy Ministers, and we are working on it under the leadership of Ursula von der Leyen. Coming back to the strategic partnership between our two countries, there are good news and there are less good news. The good news is the trade is very dynamic. It reaches an all-time high at 17.5 billion euro, and in parallel, France has become one of the largest employers in India, and Paul has been at the heart of that development with many other French companies. There are 500,000 of Indian people working for French companies, which I believe is a very good thing. And our two countries are fostering the same ambition to have an industry and services addressing the challenge of business development, and also to protect the planet, which is something for me which is equally important. And our partnership in that regard is important. Many French companies also take an active part in your project, Make It in India and Self-Reliant India, which has always been at the heart of Indian business development, and which, of course, we sustain. In order to improve our business environment, there is a technical element which had to be solved and which will be solved. I'm proud to announce that we have updated our double tax treaty. As I speak, the final wording is being finalized, and of course that will simplify the continuing development of businesses between us, and that bodes well for the upcoming economic and financial dialogue, which I will be pleased to chair together with Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, the Minister of Finance and India, in Paris later this year. On the other side, I think we can do better in terms of Indian investments in France, because between France we have to say things, and Indian investments in France are still below the 330 million mark. I'm sure it could be higher, especially if we compare to some close European neighbors, where you are much more present. But I'm sure it's just a matter of time. You are most welcome in France, and if you have any hurdle or problem, I'll give you my mobile number. I'm more happy to help. You know, and I will end this speech by some ads on France. You know, we have qualified talents. We have low carbon electricity network with formidable electricity grid at competitive prices. We have high quality transport infrastructure and direct access to European Union market of 450 million of consumers with high purchasing power. So a lot of opportunities for Indian investors. Again, you are most welcome. I wish you an excellent forum, and I will be very happy to welcome some of you for dinner at the Ministry of Finance tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Minister Barrot, Minister Lombard, distinguished co-chairs, members of the forum, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to join you at the 14th India-France CEO Forum meeting. In due course, our leaders, the Prime Minister President, will be here to give guidance. But at this time, allow me to share a few thoughts. First, the big picture. We are two nations with a tradition of independent mindsets. This has been expressed at different times as the third way, as strategic autonomy, or as a multipolar world. But it is not just that we think similarly, we are also actively working to strengthen each other's position and make our collaboration an important element of contemporary world affairs. Now, because our ties are trust-driven and value-based, they have developed a very high level of comfort. That, in turn, allows us to contemplate a very broad range of domains for cooperation, including some sensitive ones. And in essence, I would say the very quality of our strategic partnership, and the term strategic itself today means very much more than it did before. The very quality of our partnership encourages the ambitious nature of our agenda. So the more we do with each other, the more we strengthen our positions, and equally important, help stabilize the global economy in volatile and uncertain times. So, from the big picture to business. Partnerships have a real meaning only when they get translated on the ground. And that responsibility rests largely with all of you in the business world. Indeed, as our relationship matures, the role for business is only expanding. We are moving, and I think someone else mentioned it, from a buyer-seller phase to greater collaboration, to deeper collaboration, even co-designing and co-production. The Make in India initiative has opened up many new possibilities in that regard. And the fact that there is so much strategic comfort, as I mentioned, should only encourage business to think much bigger, more ambitiously. Given these prospects, if you don't mind my saying so, the current levels of trade, investment, and cooperation is way below what it can and should be. Your job as business is to accelerate this trajectory. Our job as government is to provide the enabling environment to do so. So with that background, let me offer some specific thoughts for your collective consideration. One, we are meeting on the sidelines of the AI Action Summit. The digital era calls for trust and transparency. These are indeed shared attributes between us. The summit is a reminder in itself of how much we could be doing in AI, in software development, and in cybersecurity. 2026 has been designated the India-France Year of Innovation. So let us use that as a driver. Equally, we need to shape the global discourse in this key domain. Only a multipolar world can ensure that AI develops with the least bias. Two, de-risking the global economy has become ever more urgent. We need diversified production. We need reliable and resilient supply chains, and we need deeper business collaborations. This applies as much to manufacturing as it applies to health. India and France can make a difference, including by motivating the rest of the European Union. So to business, I would say, please do weigh in on our FTA negotiations. Third, defense manufacturing and aerospace is a well-established area of our cooperation. Both the nature and the scale of this collaboration are today poised for a big jump. And the challenge before us is, can we make the most of it? 4, a clean energy transition is underway in India as much as in other parts of the world. And nuclear, renewable energy, references were made to green hydrogen, green ammonia. These are important components of that and certainly subjects for our collaboration. 5, there are very few places in the world where I can say today confidently that infrastructure is changing as rapidly as it is in India. You see that in railways, in airports, in highways, in ports. We are in the game for technology, best practices and resources. And that extends to connectivity as well. IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. IMEC can be a game changer between us. And it is no accident that later this evening, the Prime Minister and the President would be traveling together to Marseille. There are complications, there have been complications in the IMEC, but I do want to tell our friends in France and Europe that there has also been some progress on its eastern end. And finally, as incomes rise in India, lifestyles do change accordingly. And we all know that that can be a driver of new demands in a vast range of domains. If I were to describe the climate today, the landscape today in India, following on the remarks of my colleague ministers, I would say we have seen that it's much easier to do business. We have seen an improvement in ease of living, in the bureaucratizing of society. We have seen a big change in infrastructure led by what is called the Gati Shakti initiative. You can see the results of the digital public infrastructure, both in terms of delivery of services and quality of governance. And there is a skills mission that is unfolding. So do reflect on these possibilities, the new opportunities, and I do hope that the resulting thoughts will soon turn into business plans. Once again, I thank you for having me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. For the benefit of continuity, we now ask to the two secretaries of the forum to report what has happened in our two meetings in Delhi. Raphael first.
Sure. Ministers, senior officials from India and France, co-chairs and CEOs. Yeah, excuse our ministers, they need to leave. Thank you, Mr. Lombard.
I will continue to invite myself for a few more minutes if you invite me.
With pleasure. Thank you, Minister.